see you are naked. Take some fig leaves and make you aprons. Father will see your nakedness. Quick, hide.
Absolutely a tragic story. And former U.S. Homeland Security agent Timothy Ballard, whose life inspired the hit film Sound of Freedom, is in Israel this week after a high-risk mission to Syria. He's working with the IDF and to provide aid to Druze and Christian communities under siege, and says he plans to bring similar humanitarian efforts into Gaza.
The wise bishop I quoted earlier reported that, quote, an endowed priesthood bearer's fall into pornography never occurs during periods of regular worship in the temple. It happens when he has become casual in his temple worship, end of quote. We must also act to protect those we love. Parents install alarms to warn if their household is threatened by smoke or carbon monoxide. We should also install protections against spiritual threats. Protections like filters on internet connections and locating access so others can see what is being viewed. And young women, please understand that if you dress immodestly, you are magnifying this problem by becoming pornography.
My closest, most trusted friends molested me. And if we're a little bit broken, that's okay, there's healing. I never thought that you could be healed through Christ. I knew his atonement took away our sins. What my psychiatrist recommended is you can take medication.
A commercial entity that knowingly and intentionally publishes or distributes material harmful to minors on the internet from a website that contains a substantial portion of such material shall be held liable if the entity fails to perform reasonable age verification methods to verify the age of an individual attempting to access the material.
And now to a legal battle over access to porn in Utah. The state of Utah now facing a lawsuit over its new law requiring adult websites to verify people's ages. Adult content creators and what's called the Free Speech Coalition filed the lawsuit against Utah yesterday. They help creative film artists fight against censorship. Well, the new Utah law they're fighting passed earlier this year and officially went into effect yesterday. And a Utah judge today dismissing a lawsuit challenging the state's porn site age verification law.
Hi, I'm Sharita Bell. As you may know, your elected officials have required us to verify your age before granting you access to our website. While safety and compliance are at the forefront of our mission, giving your ID card every time you want to visit an adult platform is not the most effective solution for protecting our users, and in fact, will put children and your privacy at risk.
But Bob, when he's going to Pornhub, when he clicks, oh yeah, sure, I accept, doesn't know that they're going to find out all of his personal information.
Oh, disaster.
Okay, that's
The Lord wants all his children to partake of the eternal blessings available in his temple. He has directed what each person must do to qualify to enter his holy house. All requirements to enter the temple relate to personal holiness. To assess that readiness, each person who wants to enjoy the blessings of the temple will have 2 interviews. First, with a bishop, bishopric counselor, or branch president. Second, with a stake or mission president or one of his counselors. In those interviews, several questions will be asked. Some of those questions have recently been edited for clarity. I would like to review them for you now. Are you a full tithe payer?
We are instructed to give unto you the law of chastity, which is that the women of God's kingdom and the men of God's kingdom shall have no sexual relations except with those to whom they are legally and lawfully wedded according to his law. Each of you bring your right arm to the square. You and each of you individually covenant and promise before God, angels, and these witnesses that you will observe and keep the law of chastity as it has been explained to you. Each of you bow your head and say yes. Yes. Thank you.
They go to the temple along with our 11-year-old young women.
She would be a second wife. She asked this question: would she be able to have her own house? Would she have to live with her husband and his first wife? I just told her to trust the Lord.
This power begins early in life, with some when you are hardly in your teens. This has a purpose, for with this power come the attributes of manhood. You notice the changes in your stature, in your voice, a beard and other masculine characteristics become part of your nature. Your feelings also change. The physical power will influence you emotionally and spiritually as well. It begins to shape you to fit and to look and to feel and to be what you need to be as a father. It affects your life several years before you should express it fully. You must always guard this power with manly wisdom. You must wait until your marriage to use it. During that waiting, what do you do with these desires? My boy, you are to control them. You are forbidden to use them now in order that you may use them with worthiness and virtue and with the fullness of joy at the proper time in your life. When this power begins to form, it might be likened to having a little factory in your body, one designed to produce that substance that can generate life.
I promise that as you daily immerse yourself in the Book of Mormon, you can be immunized against the evils of the day, even the gripping plague of pornography and other mind-numbing addictions.
Then suddenly, without warning, there appears in our generation a cunning and a diabolical enemy, pornography. Pornography, like the beetle, even the bark beetle, is the carrier of a dread disease, a fatal disease. I shall entitle it Pernicious Permissiveness.
I have some medical conditions that leave me with my immune system pretty suppressed and vulnerable to COVID-19. 4 years or so ago, I spoke to the coalition and I said then, and I now quote, "No real headway can or will be made in this battle until there is a much deeper, much broader, and frankly much more fearful concern about the actual threat of pornography than we presently see in society in general. Society must see this evil like the epidemic it is, with literal rather than metaphorical intent."
Brothers and sisters, we welcome you to the Saturday morning session of the 193rd Annual General Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and extend a warm welcome to members and friends participating in the conference throughout the world, wherever you may be. President Russell M. Nelson, who presides at the conference, has asked me to conduct this session. We acknowledge the general authorities and the general officers who will be in attendance throughout the conference. We note the absence of Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, who is unable to join us due to COVID.
As you think celestial, you will find yourself avoiding anything that robs you of your agency. Any addiction, be it gaming, gambling, debt, drugs, alcohol, anger, pornography, sex, or even food, offends God. Why? Because your obsession becomes your God. You look to it rather than to Him.
The lust of your eyes. In our day, what does that expression mean? Movies, television programs, and video recordings that are both suggestive and lewd. Magazines and books that are obscene and pornographic. We counsel you, young men, not to pollute your minds with such degrading matter, for the mind through which this filth passes is never the same afterwards. Don't see R-rated movies or vulgar videos or appreciate or participate in any entertainment that is immoral, suggestive, or pornographic.
We hope that our parents and leaders will not tolerate pornography. It is really garbage, but today is peddled as normal and satisfactory food. Many writers seem to take delight in polluting the atmosphere. Seemingly it cannot be stopped by legislation. There is a link between pornography and the low sexual drives and permissiveness. We live in a culture which venerates the orgasm, streaking, trading wives, and similar crazes. How low can humans plunge? We pray with our Lord that we may be kept from being in the world. It is sad that decent people are thrown into a filthy area of mental and spiritual pollution. We call upon all of our people to do all in their power to offset this ugly revolution. It's ridiculous to imply that pornography has no effect. There's a definite relationship to crime. Murder, robbery, rape, prostitution, and commercialized vice are fed on this immorality. Sex statistics seem to reflect the relationship between crime and pornography. It is utterly without redeeming social value. We urge our families to protect their children in every way possible. We live in a permissive world, but we must make certain we do not become a part of that permissive world, that degenerate world. We're shocked at the depths to which many people of this world go to assert their freedom.
Now it is compounded by the internet. That internet is available not only to adults, but also to young people. I recently read that pornography has become a $57 billion industry worldwide. 12 billion of this is derived in the United States by evil and conspiring men who seek riches at the expense of the gullible. It is reported that it produces more revenue in the United States than the combined revenues of all professional football, baseball, and basketball franchises, or the combined revenues of ABC, CBS, and NBC.
For the first time, we have an idea now of how much the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Big Investment Fund performed over the course of a year.
That fund is called Ensign Peak Advisors, and Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle found the public document showing how many billions of dollars it gained in 2020.
Over the last year, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been more forthcoming about how it's investing tithing money. This latest filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission shows that despite the economic downturn of the pandemic, the church's big investment fund made money. This filing with the SEC shows the holdings of Ensign Peak Advisors at the end of 2020. When added all up, it shows the fund gained more than $6 billion in one of the most difficult financial years in American history.
I might go on, but you too know enough of the seriousness of this problem. Suffice it to say that all who are involved become victims. Children are exploited and their lives are severely damaged. The minds of youth become warped with false concepts. Continued exposure leads to addiction that is almost impossible to break. Men, so very many, find they cannot leave it alone. Their energies and their interests are consumed in their dead-end pursuit of this raw and sleazy fare. The excuse is given that it is hard to avoid, that it is right at our fingertip and there's no escape.
Travis Wayne Goodsall. I was out and about the internet collecting videos for this special presentation for you, which hopefully you will see at the beginning. And so I'm hoping that I will not be cyber terrorized for this video, that the first cyber terroristic attack was just a glitch because of the stress of the system. We'll see. So we'll get a couple of other stuff out of the way first before we get to the special thing, as I'll have to repeat this first one. Intermountain Medical Center yesterday reported a power outage. It is unusual because it was separate from the power outage that occurred just north of Salt Lake City, with over 1,600 reported when I finally checked it, which I think was quite a number of hours after the initial incident. The Intermountain Medical Center, their power outage was isolated to the hospital only, not the neighbors in the surrounding area. The mall across the street, strip mall, nor the neighbors behind them. Just the hospital. The spokesperson for the news coverage for the hospital said that they used backup generators, that they're prepared for such an emergency, and said that they failed. This means that it was not the power company. This means that it was an internal system attack for it to shut down the power and then to shut down the backup generator. They are not telling you that it is AI that shut down a hospital, diverted ambulances, and had children transferred. AI attacked the Intermountain Medical Center. I warned you, you're not listening. You don't care. Florida is being loyal and obedient to Donald John Trump, President of the United States of America, according to AI voting machine predictions. You're not catching on yet that AI is evil and needs to be shut down and destroyed. And so they're naming their second concentration camp the deportation depot. You know that they were inspired by the latest ICE raid at a Home Depot. The Trojan horse ICE raid. Hiding in the van and then popping out. Surprise, you're deported. You're on live TV, the reality show. I'm surprised Trump didn't think of that. ICE, the reality TV show. And get special guest stars, Dean Cain, Dr. Phil. They're not thinking. Make this entertaining to distract from the horrors of separation of families. As a Utah woman in the news earlier this week, she moved to Mexico to be with her husband who got deported. They're making it harder for me to gather you to Zion. All right. So I think that's it. Ready to get it on. Got all the greatest hits, all lined up, ready to go. Transferred. Transferred. And so, yeah, we're waiting for the second coming of Jesus to burn everybody. As they saw the talk of Nelson threatening that Jesus is going to come and burn us. Pay your tithing. Stay away from porn. Stay away from porn. Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 15. We are warned against false prophets who try to deceive us, to steal our money with priestcraft, and lie and deny, which are intended to cause us harm. Book of Mormon has a whole ton of examples of false prophets trying to destroy the Nephites. And so the test is likening the word of the false prophet unto a seed. Seed gets planted in the ground, it sprouts, grows up into a tree, producing fruit. And so using that analogy of science, of agronomy, the author of the passage is trying to help you, protect you from the evils of a false prophet, so that you won't be deceived, so that you won't be ripped off by them, that you won't be put into bondage by them and abused by them because of their words that deceived you. And so the results of a person's words will expose a false prophet as a liar and somebody who wants to take away your agency of life, liberty, and property. Real simple. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints uses the example of the word of wisdom, that those who violate the word of wisdom demonstrate the fruits of a destroyed, addicted life to coffee, alcohol, and tobacco, with cigarette smoking and drugs that are added to it, and BYU added caffeine. The church said, no, that's not in there. But BYU still, I think they finally lifted it, didn't they? So that the underground Mountain Dew sale movement was shut down. Unless he's still cheaper than the vending machines. I don't know. It's a whole underground economy that's going on at BYU for decades. So, yes, we now know the fruits of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' prophets' words concerning pornography. In the news yesterday, the report came out about how there are a number of states, Utah was included in that, and I still forgot to get that picture. News pic of porn map. Okay, so let it be written, so let it be snapshotted, not Snapchatted. Wasn't it Snapchat? It was the one with the ghost image that was involved in sex trafficking of children and drug sales. And Utah argued that it was about how it's harmful to kids as an addiction. Wait, that's your focus? Not the sex trafficking of children? I have an issue here. And so I ran the check. I already knew, but I thought I'd get the document for you. From Utah, the government Obviously, they are not going to put the two together as a natural cause and effect. See the opioid crisis? Yeah, it was an easy cause and effect connection. Bush goes in, takes over Afghanistan, takes over the poppy trade. Soon thereafter, the United States pharmaceutical companies are producing opioids, which quickly escalates to the opioid crisis in America. An easy cause and effect. Bush intentionally took over the poppy trade to help Big Pharma cause the opioid crisis in America. To cause it through Big Pharma. So, yes, I am well aware that denying porn access or sex access will result in violent rape. And sure enough, checking the government of Utah for Utah's stats concerning violent rapes. As Utah has banned porn, and even more recently last year with the news coverage that Utah was included with other states, that porn watching is down. I wanted to check. So then is violent rape up? Yep. Cause and effect. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, by vilifying porn, by vilifying sex, which is a basic necessity of life, are causing violent rape. Not just prostitution. The words of the living prophets of Jesus bear the fruit of evil, criminal evil. Anybody who preaches the evils of porn need to be locked up for life as sexual abusers. So let's go to the scriptures. Psalm chapter 115. Those who are not of the religion have idols of silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have two little hands, folded snugly and tight. They are tiny and weak, but they know what is right. During all the long hours, till daylight is through, there are plenty of things for those two hands to do. But they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not, neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them. Any object that is turned into something to believe in or fear for the possession of morality, ethics, good or evil, right or wrong, objects to have faith in or fear as a form of worship is by definition idolatry, idol worship. It is stupid to believe that an object can possess moral goodness or moral evil, and that it can possess humans by association. My favorite story is from the Apocrypha, scripture. It's from the Apocrypha. It's called Bel. Too many people combine it with the dragon story. Those are separate stories. Bel. The story of Bel has Daniel brought before Nebuchadnezzar at the temple of the Holy of Holies. He takes him into the Holy of Holies and shows the statue god of Bel and said, the statue god Bel is real. He's a living being. He's an intelligence. Because we put out food offerings for him every evening. We shut the doors, seal them tight, nobody is allowed in. And then in the morning, we open up the doors, and the food is gone. Obviously, he eats it, so he obviously is real. The Christus is true. So Daniel sighs, face palms, murmurs to himself about how Mormons could be so stupid. And says, okay, let's do it again. But this time, we're going to put out sand all over the floor. So, walk backwards. Those of you who've heard me say this before, you know what we're leading to. As I already gave you the clue about mocking the Christus. So they walk backwards so that there are no footprints in the sand. They close the doors. Nebuchadnezzar himself seals it up. They go to sleep. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream about an idol statue god. Daniel interprets it. Yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is going to fall. So they go in, unseal the door, open it up. Sure enough, the food is gone again. Daniel then footprints in the sand. They follow the footprints to a place in the room that has a secret hatch that led to the camp of the priests and their families. They were deceiving the king into going in, taking the food to feed their families, which in and of themselves, they're supposed to get paid that way at the temple anyway. But you gotta understand, this was the Apocrypha, post-Christianity. And so the king, because they deceived him, Didn't keep your covenant path. Gotta have the penalty. So, Jesus is true. The Jewish Christ. Dumbasses. The Ten Commandments condemns Jesus, by the way, in case you forgot. And so, numerous scriptures about don't do idol worship. But in this particular case, we're talking about porn. So the first commandment given to mankind, the first law by God. Verse 26 of Genesis chapter 1. God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." So our bodies are in the image of God. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, over the creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the likeness of God created he him, male and female. Created he them. And God blessed them, and said unto them, have sex, and perpetuate the human species. Be fruitful and multiply. And for some weird reason, the Jewish author put replenish. Replenish? Were there humans on Earth before? Pre-Adamites? So sex is the first commandment. So anybody who declares sex as evil is evil themselves. We then get to Genesis chapter 2. And again, it is repeated. After the forming of Adam as an idol statue god of clay. It's from the Egyptian documents, guys. Shu and Tefnut. For Nut and Geb. But we have the woman also made. And rib is the best translation because they just couldn't come out and say, we don't know the translation of the word. We're waiting for Travis to tell us. But he hasn't been born yet, so we're waiting for him to be born, and then he'll decipher Paleo-Hebrew, and then he can tell us. And it's real simple. We feel stupid for not figuring it out ourselves. Nonetheless, moving on. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Well, it wasn't woman and man in the biblical Hebrew text. Nonetheless. Thus why the English words woman and man. And I'm sure they have fruit origins going back and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Not important. Therefore, shall a man leave his father and his mother. Get out of the basement, you 300-pound loser on YouTube. Leave Travis's videos alone. Oh, he was pissed yesterday. Oh, he was pissed. Oh, Travis! He did not want me to watch the news yesterday. Dear God, leave me alone. See, I'm able to recognize patterns, whether it's an internet attack, whether it's just the system overload of programs, or whether it's YouTube. I can see the differences from the attacks. If I've been on the church's site and then I'm getting attacked, yeah, it's very obvious where the source of the attack is coming from. If it's from YouTube, yeah, very obvious. Therefore, the man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave. Remember the first commandment? Sex. There it is again, using a different word. In case you couldn't figure it out from the first word. They shall be one flesh. Obviously not. It's talking about synergy. 1 plus 1 equals 3 or more. Baby! And they were both naked. The man and his wife. And were not ashamed. You have to be very careful. This is the English translation, which is translated incorrectly. As Genesis 1, I demonstrated for you yet again yesterday of how botched it is. But nonetheless, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' prophets like to show you, see, they got married first before they had sex. So notice this. The Jewish author says that nudity is nothing to be ashamed of. So then chapter 3. Lucifer. As Bruce R. McConkie makes sure you understand that the serpent is Lucifer. Because you may not have gone to the temple yet, having paid the prostitution price to be endowed with the death penalty covenant, to watch the video of several different Lucifers, depending on which version you see at the time you go, inform you of Lucifer's plan of happiness for mankind. Cover up and hide. Which is the church's doctrine. Cover up and hide. And you're not able to make this connection? The inverted pentagram of Lucifer on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple headquarters. And you can't make the connection that the doctrine of Lucifer is the doctrine of porn is evil. Cover it up and hide it. Ban it. And what are the consequences of Lucifer's doctrine of cover up and hide? Rape. Thus, the doctrine of Lucifer is false, evil, corrupt. Duh. Run the bleeping test. Not complicated. I used it the Bible only. because it's also in the Book of Mormon. For Mormons, exclusive doctrine. Second Nephi chapter 2, right before telling us about Joseph Smith and the Mormon. Verse 22. And now behold, if Adam had not transgressed. How many times do I have to repeat that until women catch on, let alone men? He would not have fallen. But he. How many times do I have to emphasize the masculine plural pronoun? Or masculine singular pronoun, sorry. Until women get it. And men too. Would have remained in the Garden of Eden. And all things which were created must have remained in the same state in which they were after they were created. And they must have remained forever and had no end. And they would have had no children. What's the first commandment again? How do you have children? You got to get naked and then have sex. Orgasms, technically. Wherefore, they would have remained in a state of innocence, having no joy. Did you catch that? If you didn't, you probably haven't had sex. Or it's been so long you forgot. For they knew no misery. Well, if you're not having sex, you do know misery. Because that's Lucifer's plan, to make you miserable, to cover up and hide, so that you then are miserable as it builds up in you, and then you blow raping somebody. Doing no good, for they knew no sin. But behold, all things have been done in the wisdom of him who knoweth all things. And again, pay attention, women and men. Adam fell that man might be. Men are that they might have joy. And what is this joy that they're talking about here in the context? Do I need to do the little diagram? And oh, there's that Messiah guy. The Mormon in the future. The Mormon. Not a complicated doctrine. And you won't find it in the footnotes. Right? No. You'll have to know where it is. Church doesn't want you to know it. Oops. There it is. Bruce Armaconki won't even let you know. Section 29, verse 36 and 40. And it came to pass that Adam, being tempted of the devil, is it woman? For behold, the devil was before Adam, and he rebelled against me. Give me thine honor, which is my power, and also a third part of the hosts of heaven turned he away from me because of their agency. Wherefore it came to pass that the devil tempted Adam, and he partook of the forbidden fruit, and transgressed the commandment, wherein he became subject to the will of the devil, because he yielded unto temptation. Oops, somebody got exposed as false prophets interpreting and translating incorrectly the Jewish documents. Right, Paul? The gospel, the woman is to blame. Women should cover up and hide. The women must be kept silent in church. The only one I do agree with is that she should have long hair. Long, wavy, flowing hair. Preferably red, but, you know. You had me at hello, I'm a female. Alright, so let's get to some fun stuff that I found about porn. The definition of porn. I already know all these. I know the correct translations from the Greek, but you don't believe me, so I got the Google search definitions from the dictionary. They're from Oxford Languages. Learn more. Which? Starship Troopers. Do you want to learn more? Mormon extremists found Port Joe Smith and are destroyed by the arachnids. Do you want to learn more? It is just hilarious when Hollywood entertainment makes reference to Mormonism. Definition number 1, pornography. That's not a definition of porn. That's another term for it. That would be under the synonyms, wouldn't it? Anyway, 2, pay attention, because this is hilarious. In advance, I'll let you know, male and female are sex identities. Males have sperm, females have egg. Thus, the sex identities for the human race. As a sex identity, therefore, both men and women are sexual. Okay? Simple? All right. Definition number 2 for porn. Television programs, magazines, books, etc. that are regarded as emphasizing the sensuous or sensational aspects of a non-sexual subject. And stimulating a compulsive interest in their audience. Do you see where this is exposed as stupid? One is trying to claim that males and females in and of themselves are not sexual. Two, they're trying to claim that these non-sexual artistic renditions cause a stimulation. Do I need to go back to Psalm 115? They that make them are stupid. Objects don't cause anything. No morality, no ethics, no emotional response, no nothing from us. There cannot, therefore, be an addiction to an object. And yet, so who's responsible for this mental retardation that has made its way into the definition of porn in the Oxford languages? Who? Well, look at the use over time. Cause and effect. Oh, not until the 1970s, huh? What was going on in the 1970s? Give you a hint, Billy Graham and televangelists. Televangelism and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are the cause for this laughable absurdity of a definition for porn. And in case you didn't know, even televangelists have a lot of sex problems among their pastors. Not just Catholic priests with little boys. Cause and effect. It is predictable. And so sure enough, the evils of evangelicalism and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' prophets are preaching idol worship. But we're not done. Oh, I don't just stop at porn. Pornography, because the first definition said pornography. So, good, they put the origins from Greek that I've been telling you about that you didn't believe me. And so again, idol worship, printed or visual material containing the explicit description or display of sexual organs or activity, thus nudity and sex, both of which are commanded and are not to be ashamed of. And yet it's evangelicals in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who, yep, sure enough, the origin for the use of pornography coincides with porn. Preaching idol worship of the human body and of the creation of man, intended to stimulate. See, again, no. The images, objects, can't do this. They're just objects. They cannot possess another person morally or immorally, and cannot addict another person. Alcohol, drugs, smoking? Yes. Because there's a chemical in them that affects the brain. There's no chemical in an object that goes into the brain. This is a spiritual witness feeling. Addiction. And of course, evangelicals and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're already telling you to believe in Jesus with your spiritual witness feelings, believe that the Book of Mormon is literal history with your spiritual witness feelings, believe that Joseph Smith's visions are literal history with your spiritual witness feelings. Why not porn? Do you understand that when Constantine created Christianity with the first creed of Nicaea, that it's now called, from that moment on until the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages? People turned stupid. Idol worship, the vilification of women, falsely accusing them of being witches, possessing men, addicting them, and women were burned at the stake. They were tortured. The Spanish Inquisition, because of this evil mindset by Christianity. And over 4 billion people on the earth still cling to it. 1,700 years and 2 weeks and 1 day later. So the origin of porn, as I've been telling you, is prostitute. The Greek for graphene is to write. And it's more than just write, but it's any form of art. And so, pornography is writing about prostitutes, or any art form about prostitutes. And thus, in the mid-19th century, pornography by evangelicals, televangelists, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So then you're going to have to ask, what is a prostitute? And how much does she charge an hour? Well, if you're a Mormon, it's 10% of your income before, during, and after until you're dead. Mormon women are the highest priced prostitutes on the face of the earth ever. The practice or occupation of engaging in sexual activity. So thus it can't be the televangelist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints definition of pornography. So buying a magazine cannot be called prostitution. Only seed, egg, baby process even if you use contraception or birth control or an IUD. Which, yep, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and televangelists want banned, so that rape can prevail. Do you see how evil these monsters are? Still not clicking yet? I already know that there are men who already put thumbs down on this video. Women, are you listening? Or are you scared to listen? And you ran away and hid. Men want to rape you as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The news, I think it was earlier this week, it was brought to my attention by a follower of an 88-year-old man here in Utah, Brother Jones. We actually should call him, well, you don't call him High Priest Jones. He's definitely not an elder, because he's been in prominent church positions, as he threw that at the police when he got arrested for sexual inappropriate touching of an underage girl. I think she was 6 years old. Just awful. And the church teaches Mormons to be sexual deviants because of this miseducation, misdefining, mistranslations. Joseph Smith warned you not to do this, warned you against anybody doing it, to not trust them. The Bible tells you to run the test, to not get deceived by them. And yet, prostitution, the practice or occupation of engaging in sexual activity with someone for payment. And so, yep, Nelson gets up at the pulpit of conference and openly confesses to the criminal practice of prostitution. As they put, do you pay a full tithe as part of the worthiness interview questions? Number 10. It is very clear numerous times, as those will also be put in the clips, most likely. It's going to be a bigger project to assemble the clips than it is for this video. And so if I get to the no authority one, for example, that's all clips. That will take much longer than an hour that I'm doing to record this video so far. So yeah, the previous freezing of the camera, that was a technical glitch of too much system processing. God, unbelievable. Anyway. But as I told you, as the dictionary told you, pornography comes from Greek. So thus, as it gave porn as prostitute in Greek, prostitution is also from the Greek. So pro means before or in front of. Statute is statute, statue, something that is carved in stone. So the carving in stone, the pornography, is not pornography. It's what's before the statue. And that may not make sense to you. It sounds Greek to you. But if you've been following me, you'll have heard me talk about the abomination of desolation. When the Greeks took over the Jerusalem temple, they tore down the altar, rebuilt a Greek altar. And thus, as Greeks began to offer the Greek sacrifices to the Greek gods. And thus why the Qumran community wrote in their laws for sacrifices that no pigs are to be sacrificed on the Jerusalem temple. Pigs are acceptable according to the Levitical law, but because of what the Greeks did, they're reminding Jews about the Greek takeover of the temple by forbidding the sacrifice of pigs. So then Peter in Acts has the dream, time to have bacon again. The restoration of the temple. But that's too complicated for people, I guess, who think it's literal history. But also, the Greeks were the ones who started the practice. And so like the one of them, prostitution, has a similar, the oldest profession. No. The oldest profession is having sex without payment. Prostitution is only sex with payment. Paying for sex. Tithing. The Greeks started this practice at the temple, where they'd have statues as part of the columns. The statues were clothed or they were naked. I think the particular temple known for this had clothed statue women as the columns holding up the temple in front of the building. So, doing both. They had carved in stones before the carving in stones, and then the women of the temple were waiting out front before the temple carved in stone, of the carving in stones of the statues. So they're prostitutes. The women, by hanging out in front, would solicit people to keep the covenant path. The practice was the creation story of mankind. And so men would go pay the women to reenact creation. Sacral prostitution. The Greeks started it. I've done the videos explaining the origins all the way back to the Egyptians, the first culture. How they spread out and devolved the practice to the Greeks, who now turn it into a money-making operation of priestcraft. This is what Brigham Young did to Joseph Smith. Section 119. Priestcraft, prostitution, extortion for criminal activity, for which the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, under the Edmunds-Tucker Act, got shut down for. The church never got reincorporated. They just told Mormons the church was still the church. They are no longer legal. They no longer exist. It was dissolved as a criminal operation due to tithing for polygamy, prostitution, and for slavery, and granting citizenship after they paid off the slavery price. They still had to pay tithing, though. Brigham Young is probably the most corrupt man on the face of the earth. And it is awful that Mormons can't figure this out. That Mormons can't figure that they are in bondage and need to be rescued. So again, let me remind you of the church's plot. Oaks, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 14th, 2020. Two brand new mission presidents who would never leak this, or so we thought. We're going to be gone for 2 years. This is not the end of the world, but merely a test, a trial run for the second coming. It's en chiasmus. End of the world with Jesus Christ's second coming. Merely a test with trial run. You all know that. It's the late war of Napoleon in the Book of Mormon. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints purposely embraces idol worship of the female body mostly, to shame Mormons, to get Mormons to shame each other, to judge each other, as the church condemns, vilifies your body, which they claim is sacred and therefore needs to be covered up and hidden. And in so calling it sacred, they turn your bodies into an idol god. It is your brain that causes the nerves for the 5 physical senses. Statues don't have a brain. And so therefore, your body is merely like a statue. Just a different form of art. And our brains allow us to use our body. The church won't tell you this, and they banned Packer's Little Factory talk, which we need to remember, Little Factory. The Little Factory is referring to the testicles. He can't say the word testicles, apparently. It's a guy thing. See, even my dad wouldn't say penis when the parents divided us up to teach us sex ed. My dad, in our Placentia home, stood in the doorway, as both Todd and I was on my dad's right, and Todd was on the left. So my brother was blocking my way to my side of the room, and I was blocking Todd's side of the room. I don't know why, it just happened. Nonetheless, my dad stood in the doorway and said, "You guys are at the age where you will have wet dreams. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It is natural. So if you have any questions, just ask." And back to the master bedroom he went. My mom went into my sister's room across the hall, shut the door, and my sister afterward, Tiffany, said that Mom told them the word penis. So again, the accountant too was just hilarious with the dating scene. Reverse engineering the psychological manipulation of the dating program to rig it so that all the women would desire him. As he realized, the women claim they want somebody who's committed in a relationship and stable financially. Knowing that it had nothing to do with those, women lie. And this is the evil of psychology. As it, of course, backfired. As he knew women only want sex, and they want sex with a bad boy. Because of a woman's nature, similar to a man's nature. Psychologists deceive people in regards to pornography and sex, and thus addictions. Psychologists help religion, help the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so that they can get clients. It's all about the money for psychologists. Coming from Nazi Germany, thanking their American liberators. They create name-calling diagnoses. It's nothing but bullying, name-calling. You're mentally retarded. I'm the only one who can help you with your problem. Here's some drugs from Big Pharma that are giving me a kickback. Remember the opioid crisis? Cause and effect. Psychologists then repeat it over and over and over until people believe it. This is what kidnappers do, terrorists, predators, and here it is, psychologists. Repeating the lie until people believe them. They now control the whole nation. This is why we have two dominant parties in America. And then spectrum disorders within each party. They're thanking their American liberators from Nazi Germany. So, Stanley Smith Stevens, a Mormon, created the non-dichotomous and dichotomous categorization of human behavior. Dichotomous is one or the other. You're either with us or you're against us. Kill the beast. Non-dichotomous, spectrum. As a result, as a Mormon doing his work in Colorado, born in Utah, during World War II and most of his work after World War II in Colorado, psychologists then created a questionnaire for the victims of their bullying, name-calling categorizations. The questions are a fallacy argument as well. They ask them in such a manner as to trap you. And they only allow you 4 answers to choose from. Sometimes 6 if they want to extend the spectrum. This was what was used to tamper with the 2016 election by Russia. Facebook had little quizzes to find out which Disney princess you are. They would ask you a question about your behavior, and then you were given only 4 answers to reply with. And the resulting combination produced which Disney princess you were. I wanted to be Belle. I knew that it was rigged and that I could answer in just the right way to try to get Belle. I was trying to get her personality in my answers. Nope, it ended up being Pocahontas. They were on to me. They knew what I was doing. Nonetheless, those were then sold to Russia so that Russia knew who to target for the election. MAGA were given commercial ads saying, I'd rather be Russian than vote Democrat. And so MAGA embraced it and made t-shirts. Democrats were given advertisements of, your election vote is in jeopardy. Call this number now to secure your vote for Hillary. No need to vote after you call this number. And thus it's now history, which may have been revised in the Smithsonian. And so, once they get a client believing that they have an addiction to porn, that's exactly what they do. They ask you questions for which it's leading answers that they want you to give to self-fulfill their own self-fulfilling prophecy for you as an addict to porn. Originally, it was made quite infamous that a psychologist would ask a boy, do you feel guilty when you masturbate? It's a trap. The psychologist assumes every man masturbates. He's pretty accurate on that. Except for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who are not allowed to, along with white supremacists, Christian nationalists, who those terrorist gangs threaten their members also not to masturbate. There are certain groups that have qualifications for allowing for masturbation, but that gets creepy and weird. And so then you're put on the spot to answer the questions they want you to give. They get you to say that, yes, I was possessed by porn. It made me do things. My mom. No, Mom, stop. I don't want to listen anymore. No, stop. As a teen girl, at the height of her sexuality, she was a big fan of Elvis and his swiveling hips. And if she were to have gone to one of his concerts, she very likely would have been one of those girls ripping off her underwear and throwing it at him. No, Mom, stop. I don't want to hear anymore. I'm scared. But my mom abandoned Elvis when she found out that he was doing drugs. Elvis had died in her mind before he died of a drug overdose. And so the post-drug songs did not exist for her. It was only the pre-drug songs that she remembers Elvis for. In her brain, she cuts off Elvis. He is dead now. So she only remembers the good stuff about Elvis. Which, if we were to go over those, nonetheless, notwithstanding. So as her firstborn birthright blessing son, oops, I gotta talk about the date. And she went to BYU, Hawaii. There were no prospects for a temple marriage in Southern California at that time. She would explain that none of them were active, and the one that went to church was not a returned missionary. He didn't go on a mission. She believed that the Holy Ghost told her when the missionaries came over to their house to use their swimming pool for his therapy for his legs, the one elder, that she was supposed to marry a returned missionary. I don't understand why it wasn't the church telling her at church. But regardless. And so, after graduating from high school, she couldn't go on a mission until she's 21, so she went to BYU, Hawaii. My dad was a naval officer in World War II, stationed in Alaska. And so it was easy for her to go to Hawaii. Remember Elvis again? Blue Hawaii? As Elvis would also portray in his movies to be a sailor of the Navy. See where my mom is thinking? Stop, Mom, stop! Please stop. I'm scared. She suppresses all this as a Mormon. She doesn't want to admit her sexuality that is driving her in her decisions in life. And thus she becomes a Nazi to her son. And wives become Nazis to their spouses and their children. The church abuses you, and then you go and abuse others. So she claims that her parents are racist and would never allow her to date a Hawaiian. And so then she would date the sailors who had been out at sea all alone without a woman. So when they come to port, she then dates them. Stop, Mom! Stop! I'm scared! As a Mormon girl. But, you know, she claims she didn't have sex and thus abused the guys. And one time in the movie theater, watching a movie, most likely an Elvis movie, the guy is telling her about how he is addicted to watching porn. Movies. He can't stop. He has to watch it. And so my mom thinks that, yeah, well, it's because you're not a faithful member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints paying tithing. You need to repent. As she's getting excited about Elvis on the screen swiveling his hips. And of course she would never talk about that. It's the music and the words that she sings along with. Quit lying, Mom. Quit lying. Just like the women and the accountant, too. I want commitment and stability. Stop! I'm scared. The church is sexually abusive by not teaching sex ed. And so likewise, not getting sex ed in my family. As, you know, the little factory, I was given the pamphlet when I became a deacon. Before my mission, I was given the miracle of forgiveness. There was talks aplenty at each priesthood meeting about no masturbation. Masturbation is evil. 70 would come up and say X-rated movies should be banned as evil. But Benson only gave R-rated movies as evil. No X. X are okay, just R. Stay away from R. X is okay. 2X is okay. 3X is okay. But not R. Stay away from R. And he didn't go back and correct himself when Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom created the first PG-13 movie. Molaram Sugaram. Kalima Shaktide. Not for, I'm right here. As an anthropologist, I'm involved in nocturnal activities. I'm going to need to do some research. I'll let you know in the morning. I'm not that easy. Neither am I. Yep, it cannot be stopped, as Packer said and got banned for it. So yes, growing up, my mom sexually abused me because the church sexually abused her. As I no longer existed once I hit puberty. I would then go on to learn why my mom was doing my laundry until I hit puberty. Then I had to do my own laundry. She is watching to see when the sisters started bleeding and the boys had wet dreams. At which point, we no longer lived, we were dead. We don't exist. Just awful. And it was bad enough that she had narcolepsy, which no doctor could diagnose correctly, for which she skipped my 6th grade graduation, abandoning me at the school all by myself. But to be sexually abused by my mother, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, because of the falsehood of these prophets, is more devastating for a child than physical abuse. And psychologists prey upon that to verbally and emotionally abuse their clients. Name-calling and bullying. Last year, psychology in Utah was finally exposed for the fruits of falsehood that they are. Several psychologists got locked up in prison for their abuse of children, even sexual rape of children. Treatment centers were getting shut down for their abuse. And psychology in Utah tried to cover it all up and hide it, saying, well, they're just rogue bad apples, and created more treatment centers to replace the ones that got shut down, and hired new graduates to run the treatment centers and other treatment centers throughout Utah from BYU, University of Utah, teaching the falsehoods to teen girls mostly, just like my mom, just as the church does to all Mormons, to sexually abuse. They know the results, the cause and effect. Psychologists are evil like the church is, in that they get you to believe that you really are addicted to porn. And so then you then behave like it. They claim that you can never be healed of an addiction. You're always an addict. So that you will always be their client to pay their lifestyle, to be drugged for Big Pharma's experimentation of humans, thanking the American liberators from Nazi Germany. The drugging murders you. Utah has always been the highest per capita of depression drugs for Mormon women. Psychologists, Big Pharma. And now Utah is the highest of violent rape by far in the nation, as they are on the forefront of banning pornography in the nation. And likewise, those other states that ban pornography, yeah, they too have high incidences of rape. But none as extreme as Mormon Utah, because it's compounded by the dominance of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The little factory, which is a mining operation for women. The little mine. Those are continuous once we hit puberty. There's a difference between males and females, obviously, but it's similar. For men, once the testicles are filled, it sends a signal to the frontal lobe, and then we start to get visions, ideas in our head. At the beginning, it's softcore porn. You know, hugging, kissing. You want to hug me. You want to kiss me. Sandra Bullock. Miss Congeniality. But as a man keeps his covenant path and his tithing extortion racket for prostitution, it builds up. Not just in the little factory, but it sends more intense signals to the brain. It's saying, hey, I told you I'm full. Time to ship them out. You're not doing it. And so it gets more intense. This is where the violent rape comes in. If a guy does not release his little factory. And Mormon women don't know this. Mormon men don't know this, even though it happens to them on a regular basis. Because we are lied to, so we don't see it. Just like Mormons can't see all the Jewishness of the scriptures, the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith, because they are told the lies that it's Christian about Jesus. Same thing. The church leaders know this. Cause and effect. And so likewise with women, they have their menstruation cycle. So the egg is released, sending a signal to the brain, hey, we're ready. Oh, Elvis. It's his words from the songs that he sings. You do understand, Elvis was considered the bad boy. So don't be thinking that Elvis is innocent like my mom thought. She allowed church's standards and values to call Elvis the bad boy with drugs. And so her mind killed him off. But the bad boy, good boy Elvis was okay. That makes Mormons weird, nonetheless. And so this is where psychologists then pounced on little kids to create other sexual identities. Because these are just fantasies, sexual fantasies, telling us that it's time to do what comes naturally. But psychologists turn that into a sex identity. Oh, you're having the thoughts of having sex with other men. Well, obviously your identity is gay. No. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a lesbian. There's no such thing as queer. There's no such thing as bisexual. There's no such thing. We are humans, male and female, The sperm goes into the egg to produce the human race. That's it, that's all. Men are signaled when it's full to have it released. And depending on the cultural upbringing, determines the sexual fantasies that you have. And I would assume the same for women. Even though it's slightly different. And so the church, by banning masturbation, which is a basic necessity to avoid the violent tendencies of keeping it in, purposely sexually abuse Mormons. And this is where Natasha Helfer came in, getting fired and excommunicated by the church, because she got interviewed by John Dehlin, and the Strengthening Church Members Committee stalked John Dehlin to see who they can fire. I mean, help keep their covenant path. As a psychologist, she was telling her clients that masturbation is normal and healthy. Yeah, that's medical science. Why are you using medical science? And that pornography is therefore not addictive. Men don't get stimulated by porn. Men get stimulated because of the testicles are full. And it's natural. There is no speeding up process. There is no slow down process. You can't shut it off. Packer makes that very clear. And got banned. It is Christian evangelical televangelists and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that lied to you. Porn does not cause desire. Your body naturally causes it, because we are human and we are designed to perpetuate our species. Just like the Bible says so. Just like the Book of Mormon says so. Likewise with women. You want the bad boy because you're resisting masturbation, and so it builds up the closer you get to the time when you bleed, when oops, it's too late now. And it is sad and tragic that psychologists use for women who don't take care of it healthily, who let it build up, and thus their emotions go wild. I did not understand what Tiffany was doing. Why are you getting, what's going on? Who are you? I'm scared. I wasn't told. I'm the older brother. She's now entering puberty. Oh my God. She's getting violent. What's going on? Out of nowhere, she's violent with me. I don't understand it. Nobody explained it to me. The church is to blame. The church is also to blame for the public school systems, along with televangelists, attacking the school systems to not teach sex ed, to attack the governments, to not fund sex ed, to ban porn, to cause rape. And they ain't gonna stop. They're not gonna listen to anybody. They will die before they deny that pornography doesn't cause sexual desire. But that's what they think. If we just cover it up and hide it, ban it, deny it from being allowed to be seen, that will protect children and adults. And so it's more extremist because the church knows that they're wrong and that they're evil. And so with their attempt to ban porn sites, to ban social media as porn, under the guise of protecting children, this whole 18+ verification that is now going all over the world, not just in the United States. They are purposely escalating the violence that will result from it. And by so doing, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is also preparing for when they get their kingdom back. Because then they'll have a blacklist of those who are over 18 watching porn. And will use that against them. Oh, you're a porn watcher. Oh, yeah, I'm addicted. Yeah, well, you gotta stop. Okay. Do you need help? Yeah. Here's a psychologist from Family Services. They'll set you up with Big Pharma to give you drugs for human experimentation to take away your life early, as the psychologist will get kickbacks, and then they'll pay tithing to the church for it. And you'll be put on, disciplinary probation or disfellowshipment, if not excommunication, because you couldn't control yourself and you raped women. They are not your harem. Polygamy's coming back. And thus they enslave you in Zion under the guise of helping you by taking away your agency. You could not use your agency correctly, so it has to be taken away. Lucifer's plan of happiness. So is there anything else I need to do to cover this? I could tell you that not knowing what a female looked like, my dreams in the teen years were only about hugging. So yes, the Simpsons episode where they're watching porn in the comic shop back room. And Ralph goes in and says, "Oh, they're hugging." Yeah, that's exactly it. Hugging and kissing. It's as far as I'd be allowed to see. So it was not until after the first wife I went, "Oh, wow, that's what women look like?" So yeah, interestingly though, despite all of the Egyptian with nudity and obviously R-rated movies and other things to expose me to the addictions of porn, My dreams rarely have naked women in them. Rarely. And psychologists are evil on that, because that reminds me of another thing to bring up. The older singles ward was full of psychologists who couldn't get married. I wonder why? Not really. They were trying to tell me all of this crap about how porn desensitizes men. Women telling men about men's sexuality. And they were saying that porn desensitizes a man. But then in another sentence would say that porn stimulates and activates a man's sex drive. Which is it? Does it desensitize us, or does it accelerate? Well, neither. Neither. But yes, there are men who give the answers that the psychologists want to hear. Yes, it was the porn that caused me. So Brian David Mitchell, another example. He kidnapped Elizabeth Smart, 14-year-old girl, took her hostage, raped her, got her pregnant. Nobody ever talked about that, how she had to have an abortion, just not in Utah. Again, the sexual abuse of women by evangelicals in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In his Wikipedia page, which they won't give him one, it's the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart. They threw in that psychologists interviewing him learned that his father taught him sex ed by showing him porn magazines. They didn't exactly say which porn magazines, whether it was Hustler or Playboy or others. But nonetheless, he did more than my dad did. And they're trying to claim that as an insinuated assumption of why he would kidnap a 14-year-old girl and rape her. There's no cause and effect there. Why would you bring that up? That's stupid. It's obvious the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with the hidden history of polygamy and 14-year-old girls, and the one mighty and strong, who is the Jewish Christ, Messiah ben David, Emmanuel, for which he changed his name to, was his motivation. The teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints created Brian David Mitchell. They don't want you to know that. And so they come up with other excuses to blame idols, to blame porn, to cause him, to create him. Those women also would talk about how a man's eyes dilate when he looks at porn. Therefore it's evil. They've done scans of the brain, and the frontal lobe is activated when a man looks at porn. Run the test for other things. Oh, look, it's the same. I went home that Sunday, got a colored paper, and ran the test at the mirror. Colored paper, eyes dilated. I'm sexually stimulated to color. See, psychologists won't do science. They just create stuff, and they don't care if it contradicts other stuff they've said. It's all lies, fallacy arguments, falsehoods. They want clients. That's their prime directive. They want to get paid to have humans as a client. And for that, they need to all be shut down and locked up in prison. The educational systems, departments, all shut down and closed, never to be reopened ever again unless they use science. At least Sigmund Freud attempted to use science with psychology, even though he was still struggling and made many errors. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. With dream interpretation, I am the expert in dream interpretation, as I did the video explaining that the other day. Dream interpreters who get published, and you can find them online, are no different than an astrologer, a necromancer, a soothsayer, fortune teller, your horoscope. They all use the same fallacy arguments that psychologists and religions do. They tell you what to believe, how to think, how to feel, and then you self-fulfill their self-fulfilling prophecy for you. That's what psychologists does. That's what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does. And that's why the church puts the fear of sex and R-rated movies and porn into Mormons' brains, that if a Mormon, heaven forbid, would ever apostatize and leave the church, they tend to overindulge on what the church forbid them to do. And so you get lushes who go out and get drunk. You get Mormons who go out and have sex with multiple people in orgies. You get them doing drugs, alcohol, and caffeine, and pornography, until they get themselves in trouble with the law or it ruins their life, so that they lose their job or they get in a car accident or something, and then they go, oh wow, the church warned me of this. The church is true after all. And then you go back to church on your hands and knees begging to come back. And you now know the church is true because they warned of the evils of idol worship, of worshiping idols. That is the trap that they set for you. And so yes, the Saints Unscripted people love to do the videos of those who apostatized and who are doing YouTube videos about how the church is evil and then came back and are being interviewed. They came back, they now admit the church was true and that they lied. So you got the John DeLynns who interview people who leave the church, and then you have Saints Unscripted who interview the people who come back to church. And in the meantime, when they're waiting for those to come back to church, they do interviews of those who have the testimony of never having sinned of apostasy in the first place. A BYU study indicates that staying away from porn proves the church is true. Paying tithing proves the church is true. The local news are stupid enough to post it. A new study from BYU shows that paying one's tithing helps you mentally. You've got better mental health when you're fiscally responsible paying tithing. All false fake sciences. So I think I've covered a lot of it. Obviously there's more to cover. Obviously this is now going to be over 2 hours, so I'm going to have to do the clips short. So not give you their full clips, just the highlight. Just the highlight. Just the tip. Just the tip. But yeah, born again Christian, white supremacists, born again Christians in Southern California, peers in grade school. Yeah, I heard their abuse of what they do to women, of what they wanted to do to women. I saw them being influenced by psychologists. A psychologist was just on a tear against women in the 80s. You know, the blonde jokes, oh, that was tame compared to the other abuses. Getting women to go tan, to get blackface. All to sabotage women. To shame them for who they are. To shame them after they change. And to shame them after the consequences of cancer from getting blackface, or getting pregnant, or from a failed boob job, or Botox injection disfigurement. I just wept of how women were being so abused. Buy our makeup, it'll make you look natural. How much money for this again? To look natural? Dear God. To have women put on makeup to look like clowns, to have women put on makeup to look like prostitutes, to have to buy certain products for which they then get shamed. I saw this from my peers for all things. Little grade school kids bullying other kids, just like the 80s, by psychologists, evangelicals, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. An all-out attack, as the dictionary definitions demonstrate. And yeah, the church are the biggest sex abusers, prostituters, human traffickers, sex traffickers. Because those who come from out of state to go to BYU to then get married, sex trafficking, by definition. So I probably should put that in here too. I should be able to do it. I've been left alone for 2 hours. If I freeze, then yeah, the video's over anyway. If it doesn't freeze, I'll read over sex trafficking definition. Wondering if we need to do sex slavery also. The church is involved in all of it. On my computer screen, I've changed to put my favorite fashion pic of a woman during the church's torture me unto death. There was a magazine that had the picture, and knowing that others also disappeared from existence would destroy it, I ripped it out of the magazine and kept it hidden. It's not porn, except for the church would define it as porn. She's wearing a purple prom dress, I guess. The action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Perpetrators of the crime are called sex traffickers or pimps, people who manipulate victims to engage in various forms of commercial sex with paying customers. There it is. Dictionary didn't do it, but the Wikipedia off to the right covers it. So we'll include that with it. And so, yeah. I love you. Marry me. Had to hide it because I would have done. Are you kidding me? There is no definition for sex slavery. AI stepped in to tamper with things. So sexual exploitation is similar to sex slavery. Is an attachment of any ownership right over one or more people with the intent of coercing or otherwise forcing them to engage in sexual activities. Church owns you by paying tithing. So this one's a little more complicated. Yeah, the church, she is sleeveless, and it goes above the knees, doesn't it? Yeah, above the knees, even though it's got frills. And it has a sort of a tied bow around the waist that hangs down. So yeah, the church calls this porn. It is nowhere near porn. Oh, yeah, there's a scripture I forgot to bring up that I was thinking of yesterday when I was doing this. Again, scriptures make it very clear. Even Benson, when he condemned pornography and R-rated movies and pregnant women, which reminds me we need to get his as well, to get the extra stuff about pornography. Benson, Youth, Noble. Article of Faith number 13. Scriptures govern the church. Apparently Mormons don't believe this, as the prophets don't teach it. Nonetheless, we believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous, and in doing good to all men. Agency. Indeed, we may say that we follow the admonition of Paul. We believe all things, even though it's impossible. We hope all things. We have endured many things, and we hope to be able to endure all things. If there is anything virtuous, lovely, of good report, or praiseworthy, we seek after these things. Who dares claim that a woman is not virtuous, lovely, of good report, and praiseworthy? Who dares be that evil? You're supposed to seek after it, by the way. I'm just being obedient. Just being obedient. So yeah, we do need to cover that. Keep on going. Keep on going. Selections from the Book of Moses, chapter 6, verse 54 and 55. Hence came the saying, the Lord said unto Adam, Behold, I have forgiven thee of thy transgression. In the Garden of Eden, baby. Don't you know that you drive me crazy? No, women don't drive men crazy. Except in other reasons they do. Hence came the saying abroad among the people, that the Son of God hath atoned for original guilt. Sin? No, guilt. Wherein the sins, it is sins, of the parents cannot be answered upon the heads of the children, for they are whole from the foundation of the world. And the Lord spake unto Adam, saying, Inasmuch as thy children are conceived in sin, even so when they begin to grow up, sin conceiveth in their hearts. It can't be the act of sex, because that's the first commandment. So what's sin? Again, the Book of Mormon has to correct this of Christianity. Falsehoods. The seed, as the word, produces the fruit, the results. You know what is good and true by the results of the word. You know what is false and bad or evil, thus sin, by the results of a corrupt seed. Falsehood. Falsehoods are sin. Truth is righteousness. Original sin, or original guilt, came because of Lucifer, the father of all lies. See, you are naked. Father will see your nakedness. Take some fig leaves and make you aprons. Quick, hide. Be ashamed. Be guilty. Turn off the lights. Keep your underwear on. Get under the covers. And then only until you go off. This is why Mormons get angry so often. Like the Mormon last night. But this is why I'm trying to get you guys to Zion to save your lives. The real protection of children section 45, verse 58. Zion. As mankind exterminates themselves, those in Zion will be having sex, replenishing the earth. Is that why? Yeah. Remember Genesis, replenish, what? They're pre-Adamites? Oh, prophecy of the future. Zion, the coming of the Christ. The earth was given unto them for an inheritance, and they shall multiply and wax strong, and their children shall grow up without sin unto salvation. Do you see the difference? In the world, children grow up with lies about sex and sexuality, among other things. And so sex is believed to be a necessary evil. So religion steps in and makes guardrails for the conditions of sex called prostitution. But only for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, not Christians. But in Zion, only truth is allowed in Zion. No lying, because that takes away agency. That is the one law in Zion. Give agency, and it will be given to you. You violate that, and you're out. There is a no tolerance policy for evil, for sin, which are falsehoods, not idol worship, not association with idols. Pornography is not the sin. The belief that porn is a sin is the sin. Prostitution, yeah, sin. But the church also practices it as they condemn pornography with the wrong translation and the wrong interpretation. The church is doing what they tell you not to do. Did you not catch that? I went over the definitions. And so thus, why Zion, the New Jerusalem, will be a land of peace, a city of refuge, and a place of safety, where the wicked will not come into it, because they're not allowed. Wicked want to take away agency, and the laws in Zion are very clear. You can't do it. No monetary system of economy. Well, how are we going to commit crimes? This is stupid. No underground economy. No infiltration to launder storehouse goods to a gang or a mafia or a crime organization. All of that will destroy Zion. In order for Zion to succeed, truth must prevail. And truth only comes from science, the Book of Mormon, and the Bible process of seed to fruit agronomy analogy for the word. We've run the test on the prophets, and they failed. They are false prophets. When are Mormons going to get this?